okay.
Okay. My thoughts were that the worst hand that he would value bet is probably he's just not going to value bet very thin. I mean, he's obviously going to value bet a flush if he checks the turn with a flush draw, which is still conceivable. Obviously, is probably even likely for this player.
Well, I think he can value bet a 6 or a 5 for sure.
I don't really expect him to ever show up with a five, for sure. Maybe ace six specifically. I don't know. I mean, we've just identified this guy as a less than 100 big blind stack, and I just am not sure. I mean, obviously a regular is going to value bet eights here, and is going to value bet ace six, and probably ace five, and maybe even fours if he just thinks I have ace king, ace queen a lot. But I thought that he would see too much showdown value in an ace, and I thought that he would only bet 7x plus basically, and I decided to call based on just him having just betting like 100% of his like 10-9, Jack-9, Queen-9, King-10, all this random shit, Jack-10. I mean, obviously he's gonna bet King-Queen sometimes for value. I just decided that I was getting a good enough price at 3-1 to call, with this being an unknown 3-6 guy, and also since this is the beginning of a 25-minute session for me to do a video on, I decided that I would gain some info into him. And so he shows a 7-4.
Yeah, it didn't tell us much.
Yeah, didn't really tell us much, unfortunately. But there are some things I could see there that would tell us some information. And
did he call 7-4 to your raise from the hijack for one?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that did get us, that does get us some information. He is, I mean, and a thing like that, given that our information is that Nanoko and Pigface possibly don't 3-bet that much, it's going to make me open a pretty wide range, in in the position when he's in the big line, or when he's in either of the blinds, really. Now, on the left-hand table, I didn't see what I folded, but I put auto-fold on because I was going to try to play this hand on the right-hand table, which was a huge mistake because it looked like he min-raised a small blind, and I'd fold 0% to a min-raise in the small blind from him. So I made some sort of mistake there. I'm not sure how bad of a mistake. I probably had like 9-5 off or something. Anyways, on the right-hand table, I have fours, and I'm going to defend it. 3x open, and
I'd raise.
Pocket fair. You 3-bet there?
I'd 3-bet, yeah.
With the intention of trying to get 4-bet light and jam it, or?
Yeah, I'd 3-bet and 5-bet jam.
Really?
Yeah, right off the bat.
I just don't know much about. I just didn't know enough about these guys to fuck with it. I think that would be a really nice play against BFL, who I have some history with, and just sat on the left-hand table because I know that he 4-bets light, and I know that he is I know that he could 4-bet light and fold to a shove, with a ton of stuff. Against this Pigface guy, I just had no info, and I just decided to defend it.
See, I think you're losing on the defend.
Really? I mean, I would just defend all pocket pairs there.
Wow, I fold 2s to 4s.
Okay. I mean, certainly if I was, I'm not, adamant about defending. I'm not adamant about defending 2s to 4s there, but there's just no way that I would fold like 5s or 6s or anything like that. And I would also, again, like I would never 3-bet them because I'm just unsure of what I'm supposed to do when this guy who I just haven't played any hands with yet 4-bets me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd fold. It's pretty close, I guess. I'd probably 3-bet jam it in most of the time though.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that's something that I do a lot more heads up, where I'm just trying to, 3-bet small pocket pairs because they do well versus. I mean, obviously I'm expecting them to be 4-bet bluffing a lot, but they also do okay, obviously, all in pre-flop. On the right-hand side, I checked the flop because I just had no inclination to lead yet, and I'm just not going to be able to rep a lot in my value hands, except for exactly a set of 3s and exactly Jack-10. So just go ahead and decide to check. The turn is not really that good for me because there is some stuff I can rep, but I think that his range gets a lot stronger. I think a lot of his flop checking back range includes ace, king, ace, queen, and like, I don't know, 9s and stuff like that. Just like a lot of stuff that's calling the turn. 10-9 probably is in his flop checking back range. To me, there's a lot of shit that is going to call the turn if I lead it, so I just elect not to lead.
Yeah, of course, I'd never lead.
And so he goes ahead and he checks back. On the left-hand side, we've got $341 stack or whatever, and I like to 3-bet him. I'm 3-betting him while I'm trying to. I'm not really keen on putting a lot of money in out of position with 6 high. I do have a flush draw and some sort of straight draw, but I'm not real keen on it. But I think that stacks are such that I'm going to make a lot off of the C-bet. because I think that he'll defend too wide, and I think that he's going to make mistakes on defend hands where he's playing fit or fold, where he'll be calling with something like Queen 10 and just auto folding every time he doesn't hit a pair or something like that.
Yeah, I think it a little bit less pre-flop, but other than that, I think that's okay. I think folding's really close too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think folding is obviously my standard. I wouldn't, I'm not going to defend there as a standard, and I don't know how often pig face squeezed in the big blind, but I certainly think folding is fine. I mean, I'm not against folding. I just thought that it would be, okay to 3-bet, and I thought it could give good enough reasoning to back it up and put us in hopefully a difficult spot.
Yeah, it's fine. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, right-hand side, river runs out a king, runs out 4 to a straight. I thought about betting this for the sake of him folding specifically like 5s to 8s. I thought about it, but then I just thought there's just way too many aces in his range and 9s in his range. They're just obviously never folding.
Yeah, and also you win at showdown a fair amount of the time, I think.
Yeah. So I just went ahead and elected to check, and he snap checks back 7s.
And keep in mind, he'll never bluff you on this river, or like very rarely, because you have an ace a ton.
Right.
Not a ton, but I mean
enough to an ace or a 9, enough to where he's not gonna, or 10-9 or something like that, enough to where he's not gonna mess with it. Now on this left-hand board, I flop middle pair, and it's really a weird spot with staff.
Yeah, it's really tough.
There's no flush draw out there. I'm not really that keen to just bet getting it in against this guy. He just probably would jam 5s to 9s in this spot. I'm just not going to be in good shape.
I bet fold, I think.
What's that?
I think I bet fold.
Yeah, that's what my plan was. And I went ahead and only bet 45. I thought there was a chance he might make some sort of mistake with like ace high or something. I thought he might try to do something. I don't know. I just thought if I bet 45 and he called, I would get some information on the turn somehow.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I went ahead and bet 45, and we'll see how the hand turns out. Right hand side, I go ahead and fold ace deuce to Nanoko's open. I think it's obviously would be pretty loose to play back at him in some way, and we've already established that he's an aggressive 4-better. Is that correct?
Never play back an Nanoko pre-flop ever.
Okay, I'm not gonna worry about doing that then. Anyways, he folds on the left hand side. Right hand side hand is maybe interesting. We got an opener under the gun and a couple of calls, and I think it might be fun to play a multi-way pot with a hand like 7-4 suited.
Oh, I'd call for sure.
Yeah, so I go ahead and defend it. I mean, my standard is never to fold here. It's going to be, it's a call like 75%, or I take that back. I'll fold like 2% of the time when I have something insanely interesting going on a different table. I would defend it like 75% of the time. I would call with it and play multi-way. And sometimes, actually, part of that 2% of the fold would be if there was a super aggro squeezer in the blinds, who I just know is going to squeeze, and I'm just not going to be able to do anything about it. Anyways, I defend, though. Some percentage of the time I would randomly squeeze myself. But more than likely I'm just going to defend it. Anyways, it checks to me, and this is a pretty interesting spot. Because I frequently, this is the type of spot where I'm obviously not looking to get it in if I get check raised. I don't have, a shit ton of equity, but I'm also kind of thinking about protecting, and what do you think you do in this spot?
I check against unknowns. I just don't think we have enough information on them. I mean, the cool thing about betting is that Nanoko probably folds queens. I think maybe.
I think that's possibly true. And the other thing the other reason I think it's cool to bet and kind of protect our equity is that Papa and Fast Eddie just never have anything. They just never have anything. I mean, once they check after the pre-flop razor check, I think they're just waving the white flag. Do you not agree with that?
I mean, I'm just a little less sure of the assumption. Like, I think that's possible, but at the same time, it's like these guys are playing a billion tables, and they might just have like a set algorithm they use in their head to play boards where they just like automatically check with certain hands. And, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
We just don't know enough. I don't think. But I think betting's okay. I like checking a little bit better.
I used to checking here is my default, and I used to just always check. But I decided here that I just would not get dick to it if I just bet 45 and got like all the random overcard hands and shit to just fold. And just, you know what I mean? Just kind of get rid of a decent amount of ace-x hands and stuff like that. Anyways, Nanonoko folds. Everybody else folds except for KBP, who was the first one to call me. The 2's a really bad card for me. He has a lot of 6s in his range and a lot of aces in his range. I think that you'd probably agree with me on that.
Yeah, I would check.
Yeah, so I'm giving it the Hollywood try, and I give it a couple of seconds
why not?
and I check.